We Buy Homes. You've seen these, right? You've seen all these ads. WeBuyHomesQuickly.org. That's their website. You might want to come up with your own. You all got websites, right? Why not? You've all got 800 numbers, or at least you should if you've been in the program for a while. Right? Valerie, you've got a website? Almost done? You got a domain name?
No, it's all done with the exception it's not online or open to the public yet.
Okay, so but you do have an email address? You've got an 800 number?
Yes.
Okay.
But we have one.
Okay, well, you get the point I'm trying to, right? Who else has a website? Penny, you got a website? Tom? Dallas? You guys got websites, right? Okay, I'd be doing this right now. You're fishing. This is a pole in the water. That's a pole in the water. This, oh, I thought there was telephone poles there. How about these signs? Stop foreclosure, We Buy Homes. You seen those? Have you seen these? I'm telling you, people are making money off this technique right now. Absolutely right now. And so this is a way that you get to the 100, 10, 3, 1. But they're having the people call them. So I truly believe this is how you could actually do this business from afar. Where they're calling you, you set up a deal, have a conversation on Skype, where you see the people face to face. As you get closer to a deal and you think you can put a contract together, go there. Hey, I'll be down next week to lock up the deal. We'll close the following week, or we'll close a couple days after that. That type of thing. So again, I think you can do this from afar. You just need to set it up correctly. Drive neighborhoods, FSBO signs, vacant properties, ugly houses, realtor signs, anything you can do to stir up opportunity. If you can't be there, have maybe a partner on the ground or your real estate agent go there. I think it makes sense. Partner with a real estate agent. They're able to get paid a commission on a real estate transaction, and they've got all the tools to be able to do the research. So that might be a good partner for you. Okay? Expired listings. How about listings that were listed but are now expired? Or how about listings that have been on the MLS for over 90 days? I would totally revisit those for this technique. Over leveraged properties, you could call the realtor on that, by the way. I could see that as a question. Would I be able to call the realtor and maybe set up a subject to? Sure, why not? Especially on the ones that have been on the market for a long time. I think that makes sense because something is going on there. The price point's too high, or something's wrong with the property, or something. So you can never, that would never hurt. Google search FSBO in whatever town you're working in, Craigslist, and other FSBO listing sites. Your own websites. It should be on all the advertising that you do, by the way, along with your 800 number. Here's some other ways. Eviction court, divorce court, bankruptcy court, foreclosure auctions, felony convictions. When someone goes to jail, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage payment. Notice of default list. You can have a company send you this by email every single month in your targeted area. Mortgage brokers. I would be sending a letter to all of these people about this segment of your business and what you do. For these right here, when you go to your attorney and have them set up your contract, your sales contract, your subject to addendum, all of that, I would ask them, do you have any referrals that we can market to with eviction court, divorce court, bankruptcy court, foreclosure, criminal court, that type of thing? Penny?
Another good lead for this is if you can find a lawyer. We found a lawyer that actually specializes in helping people before they're at the point of foreclosure, where they're looking to find a way out.
Very good.
They can give you leads to contact these people, or they can sort of say, listen, I have an investor that might be able to help you out.
Absolutely. So, any resource you can use to help you, the better. Okay? Any resource you can use to help you, the better. Now, finally, for my final slide, I know we went through a lot of slides. Don't worry about it. We'll get them to you. don't, like I said, I'm hoping you didn't try to write every single thing down. I just wanted you to get the overall approach here. 3 things that I want you to be aware of. Because during the foreclosure crisis, as the real estate market was starting to crash and crashing, all of these scammers came out of the woodwork. And there were 3 basic ones that kind of gave subject to a little bit of a bad name, unfortunately, because it's a great technique to help out homeowners. So people thinking that there could be a foreclosure scam, I want you to address 3 things. There was one technique called equity skimming, which you took over ownership and you have the owner move out and collect the rent for 6 to 8 months or more and doesn't make any mortgage payments. That's against the law and you will be found. They are cracking down on that huge. There's a huge movement by the FBI, and actually President Obama put this into effect to go after these people, and they're really hit hard with this. They're jail time and a lot of serious stuff. You want to address that, and you want to show how that's not you. You want to show that the rent that comes in, your mortgage payment is going to be made, that type of thing. If you cannot get this house rented for one reason or another, I think, and you're not able to make those mortgage payments, I think you need to have communication with that seller. That's why we talked about before, you don't guarantee anything about anything with their bank. Because if for some reason you can't pay that mortgage and the bank forecloses, they're going to, that's going to be on the record of the seller. That's number 1. Number 2, it's called bait and switch. Taking over ownership, allowing the homeowner to stay in as a renter, then only to serve an eviction, and the equity has been taken. In other words, you do the deal, and you say, listen, I'm going to let you stay here if you sell me the house. Okay, you promise I can stay here? Yes, I'm going to rent it out to you. And you rent it out to that homeowner. 2-3 months later, you send them an eviction notice, and you now own all that excess equity. The FBI has also clamped down on that as well. So you want to make sure that, number 1, I just avoid renting it out to that owner altogether. I think that's a good move. Okay? Number 3, it's called the bailout. Taking over ownership and promising to the owner that they can eventually get the house back, but never does. When I make a subject to deal, I want the owner to get out of the house, and I don't want to promise them that they'll ever get back into the house ever. Never make that promise, because that's asking for trouble. So when people bring this up, I want you to say, yep, I'm aware of it. These are the 3 things that typically happened, and this is what we do to mitigate that. Number 1, all of the documentation was put together by our attorney. This is his name. Feel free to call him or her, that type of thing. Be proactive with that info, and I think you'll be in really good shape. Okay, so this kind of wraps up a lot of the creative stuff at this level. A lot of the stuff that I think you can use. Some of the stuff is for people that have no money. Other stuff is for people that have a little bit of money. But in either case, I think a lot of you can use these techniques today in today's market. A lot of these techniques I like because we're at a more of a defined bottom in many of the markets in the country today. So, when the market was at the top, some of these things we couldn't use as well. So I really, really like a lot of these for today. Roger, question?
Yeah. First of all, no, we appreciate the creativity, and obviously it's probably going to increase the percentages of success.
But you see that? Even at the end of the day, I get. Well,
I caught myself there.
I was going to say even at the end of the day, I get but I wouldn't work.
No, I mean what we need then is I think people who are experts in this particular topic and experts in the field as well. And since this is obviously not mainstream, it's creative, we're probably going to be relying on you for for sourcing some of the people that we can talk to for drawing up this type of.
Yeah. Who's your coach?
Gavin.
Gavin, right there, that guy, even though he's not funny whatsoever, he knows subject twos. And he's not only a real estate agent, but also soon to be broker, so he knows a lot about real estate. All of these things, I want you to rely on your coaches. Sylvain, Yoshi, Gavin, all of the coaches are very good at understanding these techniques. And if they don't, for some reason, know the answer, they know where to get the answer. So for all of you, when you're working on these techniques in your marketplace and you get stuck, reach out to your coach. That's what your coach is there for. So you're absolutely right, Roger. If you get stuck and you need specifics, that's why we're here. That's why I want you to reach out to the coaches.
Yeah, and the coaches will certainly help me with the subject matter, but when we're reaching out with...
But, again...
with the industry experts who may not be familiar with this,
Yeah.
Again, I guess we're relying on referrals or resources of people who are familiar with doing these type of creative deals.
Like, who would you need to reach out to?
A lawyer.
Okay, so what you're going to do is reach out to a real estate attorney. They're going to know subject to. So when you reach out to them, you're not necessarily going to need your coach at that point. Is that?
So I just want to make sure this is not a John Dessauer registered trademark creative, because I really don't. I've never heard of this, so I don't know if this is mainstream or how creative it is. So
Let's take a survey. Gavin, subject to. Does that only belong to me?
No, sir.
And is that used every day in America?
Yeah.
Yoshi?
Correct.
Okay.
so these are
Absolutely, they're used every day here for a specific reason. And I don't think, you want to know the best way to utilize us in the best fashion? Number one, don't send a 15-page email to us. Send bullet points of your questions, and if you notice on everybody that I work with, you send me a bullet point and you get bullet points back on your answers, I think that goes a long way. So if you've got a question on subject to, and Yoshi's your coach, or I'm sorry, Gavin's your coach, send it to him specifically on the question that you have at hand, bullet point, that way he can answer you specifically. If you go to a real estate attorney, and you meet with the attorney and you talk about, at least even over the phone, and you talk about, listen, I want to do the subject to technique in Atlanta, Georgia. I need to put together a sales contract, number one. Number two, I need to put a subject to addendum together. And number three, I need to do assignment of rents and all the stuff that we talked about today. If you leave that conversation and you've got 3 or 4 questions, I would first run that by your coach, a quick email, or maybe wait for your phone call, or send an email to the attorney and get your question answered. But all of this stuff is fairly, while it's creative, it's not so creative that no one does it. It's done every day in the States as a technique, okay? But really, I would really have you rely on your coaches if you get stuck. Don't wait for your I want everybody to write this down. Do not wait for your 2-week call if you've got a question on real estate to ask it. Write it down or send an email from your phone to your coach. That's what they're there for, right? I want everybody to utilize their coach like that. Right?
Yes.
Right? Okay?
Use them, and use them some more.
Right. Use and abuse.
That too.
Because you guys do.
Oh, abuse is big time.
Okay, does everybody understand that? I don't want anybody here, and Steve actually doesn't want anybody, and Bronwyn, everybody involved here, Paula, Heather, we want you to make sure that you're getting your questions answered. I don't want you to feel like you're alone. So Roger, you got something that comes up, send an email. If for some reason Gavin doesn't know that, he knows where to go get that information. Okay? Okay? Good question. Anybody else? Of anything in the 5 days we covered, nobody has a question? Yeah, come on up, Steve. If we can hit you. Yeah, we can't have you just sitting at the...
Personal question.
It's a personal question.
Who cut your hair, man? What's your number?
I'm number 1. Thank you. I don't think I have a number anymore. I don't know.
You counted backwards and now is.
That's right.
Just say it.
I don't think I have a number anymore. I don't think I have a number. You've got to put yourself in a position. I will tell you this. I didn't realize how important that number was until after the fact. When I was able to get into a position where, you know, I kind of did what I wanted to do, and I heard the backlash from friends and family where they would say, you know, I'd say, you know, I'm going down to Florida for a while, or, you know, I wrote a book. They would say, oh, must be nice. Must be nice to have time to go down to Florida, or must be nice to be able to travel, or something like that. You probably know you've hit your number there already, because you've got the passive income coming in that covers all of your living expenses. And I always wanted to come up with a formula that is something that is simple, that everybody in, as a real estate investor, as an entrepreneur, could point their ship at. And that's how this What's Your Number came up. Steve, you know, it has a number, and everybody in here has a number. But once you identify that it's 15 or 20 or 30, it gives you something to at least accomplish. It also tells you that if you're going to add leverage, like you might not want to do it in 5 years. Great, I appreciate that assertiveness, I appreciate that aggressiveness, but you've got to say, how can I add leverage to my system in which I get to 20 faster than 5 years? So like Steve talked about earlier today, you're either going to have to go after multiple units, or add leverage in a different way, or maybe find a property that gives you more than $200 a month in cash flow, may give you $400 a month in cash flow, that type of thing, okay? Anybody else have a yes? See, Steve, how this works? They come up to the mic. This is great, so close. Always a rebel.
I didn't quite understand why the attorney suggested that we would offer more for property.
Heather, you are so nice. And I say that every day. Heather, you're so nice. She just, you know, you got Steve back there, he's like, I'm not getting out of my seat. And Heather comes up and she's just like, I don't understand why the attorney... You don't understand why the attorney would do what now?
That attorney today,
Yeah?
why he suggested we would pay $24,000 more for that property. What is the advantage?
The attorney was saying that, you know, you would pay more for a property to get the credits at closing, or you would pay more for a property so that your loan to value would cover the whole purchase price. Side note, I don't necessarily like that technique unless you give full disclosure to the bank that you're doing that, because when you increase the purchase price just to cover the total purchase price with the loan, sometimes if you don't convey that to the bank, they don't like that. So I think that's an okay suggestion as long as you communicate what you're doing to the bank and they don't have a problem with it. Do you see what I mean by that? No, you don't. I want to make sure if you're anything like other Heathers I know, I want to make sure you understand what he meant by that. So let's just say that we've got a property in which it's $100,000, and we get an 80% LTV. That means we'll get $80,000 on the deal as far as bank financing, and we have to come up with $20,000 down payment. What the attorney said to do, and again, I only like this technique if we're giving notice to the bank on what we're doing and they're okay with it. He's saying, why don't you just offer, for the lack of a better, $120,000, you're getting an 80% loan. Raphael, what's 80% of 120? So that's $96,000 as far as bank financing. And you're really buying it for $100, and you have to come up with $4,000. Do you see that? So you're lowering your down payment. Again, I'm only suggesting that you do that if you let the bank know that you're doing that and they're okay with it. Does that make sense?
You're not really paying $125?
You're paying $100 for it, but you're on the sales contract. You've got $120.
Just to get the 80%.
You got it. So that loan amount is higher. You got it. Yeah, you got it. It could be if you don't let the bank know. That's why I want in any suggestion like that, you need to let the bank know that that's what you're doing. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I couldn't understand that. So I just wanted you to be careful that you need to be in full disclosure to the bank on that so you don't get into any trouble. Valerie, yes?
I thought it was also brought up that if you do offer more, if it's like, and you got it, that it would affect your taxes and your capital gains.
Yeah, Sylvain said that if you offer a higher purchase price, you've got to be cognizant of how that affects your taxes because it could change what we call your basis on the property. What you have into the property as your basis, and then when you go to sell it, what is your gain? You're going to be paying taxes on this. You raise the purchase price, it could affect what your gain is. So for that, I would recommend before you talk about adjusting the price in any exotic way like that, number one, make sure that you're communicating to the bank. Number two, make sure that you are talking with your CPA to see how you're affected tax-wise, or your accountant, okay? Any other final questions? Just one more. Just one more thing, right.
Subject to that strategy. In my mind, whoever the lender owns the property, it's not the seller, right? Because he still have the mortgage. And when I take over the property, the seller still have the loan amount under his name. My question is what the lender will say about that. Because the lender, if I'm the lender, I will say no.
Right, Susan. In the United States, we have a law, and we showed you that earlier today, the Garn-St. Germain Act of 1982. Remember that, Steve? By law, it says that you, the consumer, have the right to put that property as ownership in a trust, and they will not enforce the due on sale clause. The trust provides anonymity. You can't find out who the true owner is of the trust. Number one, there's not a true owner. There's a trustee, the person that controls the trust, and there's a beneficiary. So the law states that the bank can't do anything about that as long as you put it in a trust. If you put it in an LLC or another person buys it, they could enact on that due on sale clause, exactly like you're saying. That's why I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. To avoid that, use that law that's in place, the Garn-St. Germain Act of 1982, and you'll be safe. Cool? I like how she said that. She's like, well, if I was a lender, I would not let them do that. You're right. A lot of banks think like that, but so many people wanted to put their properties in trust for estate planning purposes and tax purposes. That's why that law was passed. Okay? Good question, though. Yes?
Would it be worth it, John, to set up a trust for like just a single family? There must be some costs associated with that.
Yeah, it's going to be a little expensive, but I would have a trust ready to go. In other words, when you find a subject to property, I would not be starting a trust the week that you're signing that contract. It takes a little bit, a few weeks. So I would set up a trust, have one ready to go, and put that single family house in that trust at the day of closing. And I would probably have, by suggestion of your attorney, one asset in that trust.
Oh, so you wouldn't put multiple assets in the
Not for that purpose, not for the purposes of subject to. For estate planning, I think it's okay to put other assets, even other corporations, you can put into a trust. Other LLCs you can have in that trust, absolutely. Okay?